John Shinn with us on the Little Caesars Hot and Ready hotline. Well, so how close are we to an offensive coordinator here? What's going on?
I think maybe by Monday they could have that thing done.
Oh, really?
But I'm pretty sure Bob had a pretty good idea who he wants. I think this week is for interviews, and then next week they'll try to have that thing set.
Well, come on. I need more. Come on, nuggets. Give us nuggets. Names. Names. Come on.
It's obvious they had Cumbie in yesterday. That would be a great choice. I honestly think anybody he's talking to, he wouldn't say what direction he wants to go in. I'll say this. I've said it every time. If OU's out there with 4 wide receivers trying this year, they're going to have a very long season. Whoever they hire, it is going to have to accentuate the running back because that's where their offensive talent is right now. But the biggest key in all this is how well do you develop quarterbacks. This isn't about calling plays. This is about how well do you have a history of making quarterbacks better. Obviously, you see what Cumbie did at TCU last year.
Right.
He's got a pretty good history of that. But I just don't know if Stoops has also said it's going to be your offense. I don't think Bob's ready to go back to a spread, just a complete spread offense. They have recruited tight ends. They've spent a lot of time recruiting tight ends and fullbacks. You're going to have to employ all that stuff. So I don't. I honestly see him kind of running more of a pro-style offense next year. So I don't know what exactly they're going to do with that.
Well, can you see Cumbie being kind of a pro-style kind of guy?
That's what most good coaches can adapt to just about anything, and
right.
I think that would be what a lot of the talks were. You haven't run this, then again, you haven't really run your complete offense yet. If you can adapt to these things, fine. Kevin Wilson was a really good offensive coordinator at OU, and he ran everything you can imagine from 2006 to 2010. I think that's kind of the guy Bob wants. But I think the biggest thing for these two, he's going to hire a receivers coach too, is how well have you developed your players as you've been an assistant coach? Because that is ultimately why Josh Heupel and Jay Norvell got fired.
Well, let me, because I am now, look, I'll be honest with you. I am totally enthralled with the idea of Sonny Cumbie. But, I'm trying to do the pros and cons thing, and I would think that the Oklahoma football program, and maybe I'm overdoing this, but the Oklahoma football program would be above hiring someone who's never called a play.
Well, that's a very good point, and every indication I've got is OU is willing to pay 7 figures for an offensive coordinator. It's just it's hard to envision a scenario where the quarterback's coach is not the offensive coordinator.
Right.
I was working on a story for today. That just doesn't happen very much anymore. And how you would have to juggle the staff if that was not the case, if not coaches, just what they're doing leads to it being real odd if that's not the deal. But yeah, I'm with you. Having not called a play, that's going to be a leap. But you can also see it happen. He's got a relationship with a couple quarterbacks that OU has. He knows Bill Bedenbaugh, the offensive line coach, who is a guy Bob Stoops is really high on. But one thing he does not seem to worry about anymore is kind of staff continuity. He wants to get out the guy who has best.
Like, are you good? Okay, come.
Yeah, that's it. He doesn't care about relationships beyond that. And I don't know. From some NFL people I've talked to, he's talked to some of them, not necessarily about hiring NFL coaches, but who they think is really good. The big thing he's been after, particularly for that quarterback, who has a history of making these guys better. And, the one part you worry about maybe with Cumbie is, obviously with Boykin this year, that was off the charts, but had that really happened before? You have to be a guy with a long, I'm not saying a long history, but a proven track record of your guys get better every year, because that's what was not happening at OU.
John Shinn with us. Are you at the point now where you'd be surprised if Cumbie is not the guy?
I'm not. I don't think I'm there yet, just because it was just 1 year. At TCU. Now it was a phenomenal year. I can safely say I've never seen an offense change as much as TCU's did this year, and I'm not talking about in terms of scheme. I'm just talking about production. They got better. You could argue offensively they got better every week this year, and you just don't see that anymore.
Well, I looked up the numbers today. I mean, in the limited time that I had, 108th in 2013 in total offense and 5th this year.
Yeah,
crazy.
You just don't see turnarounds like that very often. It would be a good hire. The other deal, you can make an argument. I just took the preseason favorite for the Big 12 and hurt them if I made that hire. But I don't think Bob will 100% look at it that way. But it also could come down to money and things like that and comfort. But the OU offensive coordinator job is going to be extremely attractive because anybody that takes it, it's going to be their offense. I remember talking to Brent Venables about this a couple of years ago. If you're defensive coordinator at OU, there's a stigma that, it's really Bob Stoops' defense. That stigma does not exist for the offensive coordinator. And if you do well, it's a launching pad job to a head coaching job, and everybody's going to know that. It's not like being, say, Steve Spurrier's offensive coordinator or something like that. I think another name to look out there for that is, I don't know if the guy's interested, but I think OU is interested, is Rhett Lashley at Auburn, because he also kind of has that situation where it's kind of viewed that he's running somebody else's offense. This would be a chance not to do that.
Huh. Interesting. The other thing with Cumbie is that I guess I'm just and again, I'm playing skeptic here, and I maybe it's more devil's advocate is what I'm playing here. I don't know if I truly believe this or if it would change my mind if I were in Bob Stoops' shoes, but there is a little bit of a red flag or maybe a yellow flag that pops up for me if, on top of having never called a play, you have now bounced from one school to another school to another school and really not – I mean, for the most part, it's been lateral moves.
Mm-hmm.
So is that not a flag?
I think jumping.
In other words, will he jump again in a year if he came?
For coaches, that's not a problem. They assume that's all part of the deal. You are habitually trying to advance your career, and for the most part, you only have 1-year deals. You're not breaking contracts. That to head coaches, that doesn't matter, because if you only got a 1-year deal, you can get fired every year.
Sure. Sure.
So that's just part of the business.
Anything else? Am I missing anything? What am I missing? I've been so enamored with this Sonny Cumbie stuff today that I don't even know if anything else is going on. Let's talk some basketball real quick. Let's do that.
You got it.
Did the Big 12 did your handicapping of the Big 12 change in the first week?
Yeah, because I thought going in Texas was probably the favorite. They seem like they have gotten worse since Isaiah Taylor came back, and it looks like they have some serious chemistry issues right now. So that changes it, yeah.
And the one other thing, and I want to ask Lon Kruger this, and he was on with the morning guys, but next time I have him on, I'm going to ask him the same question. Are you familiar at all if there was any sort of like the defense? Let me start here. The defense has been so much better this season.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's almost, to be honest, it's kind of like a Sonny Cumbie difference with the defense this year at OU basketball. There's got to be a tangible story behind that. Is there not, like, as to the rigors that Lon Kruger must have put his team through to be this much better on defense? Because I can't imagine it just being better because, maybe they put just, like, I'm sure Lon would just say, well, we just put a little extra emphasis on it during the offseason. Like, get out of here with that, right?
Well, really from when practice officially starts in October until, I would say, late November up until December, probably 75% of their practice was defense.
Really?
And yeah, and the theory was they were not a very good defensive team last year. They were a really good offensive team, And there's plenty of coaches that do this. The thought is the offense will just get better naturally. You are only ingraining one new player, which is Tayshaun Thomas. You don't have to work a ton on sets. You have a bunch of veteran guys who know that stuff. That will get better as the season goes along. But if you make these defensive improvements and can get a solid foundation like that, that's where you're going to make your big leap as a team. That's the whole deal with OU. If they're off to this start they're off to, and they still have not really played well offensively. I mean, they're still shooting around 40%, which is a team. It's kind of last year. They're shooting closer to 50 in most Big 12 games. There's still a big leap they can make there. That's what kind of says this could be a really good season for OU if they can put both those together.
Did you get to catch any of Kansas Baylor?
Yeah, watched just about all of it.
Did that game say more about Kansas or Baylor?
It was more about Baylor. I mean, I think that's about the fourth time in the last 3 years I've seen them not be able to get off a last-second shot, just kind of basic execution stuff, and not, hey, you've got 2 seconds left. You probably only got a dribble or two before you get off a shot, and that goes out the wayside. But, I imagine Baylor will do the typical deal. By the end of January, nobody will have them in the NCAA tournament, and then they'll get hot sometime in February. But, Kansas, I've always thought, has they have the most room for improvement, probably player for player. They're still the most talented in the Big 12, but they are a long way off from what they've been the last couple of years.
All right, buddy. Good talking to you. Always fun.
All right.
No,
Talk to you later, man.
All right, buddy. See you, man.